Hi guys, are you noticing that it doesn't matter how much we earn, but we are just always one step away from being broke? Like, really, forget about savings and investment, but a sudden family emergency or an hospitalization or even a job loss can put us into huge financial stress. Unfortunately, if you are resonating with this, trust me, I'm not sitting here today to criticize you, but I'm rather here to tell you that you are not alone because I was also in the same exact condition some years before. Today's video is going to be very important because in today's video, I'm going to uncover why it happens to us, what are the symptoms that you can see that you are in the trap, and what are the possible ways which you can take to get rid of this financial crisis permanently. This term, I call it as a bankruptcy trap because it is very crucial for us, which is rarely being discussed in social media or society, and for obvious reason to keep us poor. This is a lifestyle which we all middle class people follow unknowingly, and the final destination of this train ends up in poverty station. But don't worry, because I can assure you at the end of the video you will be walking away with a mindset where it will become so easy for you to catch all the patterns and the possible ways to prevent it. So let's grab some tea or coffee and let's get started. The bankruptcy trap is all about living in the moment and not at all caring for tomorrow. Under this influence, people really don't care about their savings or investment, and they really spend each and every dime they earn. It is such a silly cycle of instant gratification, which is of course influenced by social media, peer pressure and advertisements. Let me give you a big scale example. We all know about Vinod Kambli, who was earning in millions in his prime. But do you really know, during the time of COVID, he lost his job and he had to survive only on 30,000 per month based on the pension provided by BCCI. Reckless investment, luxury lifestyle, and lack of long-term planning was his biggest problem. He also admitted this later, and we all can learn from his experiences. Another ground level example. You will always find someone in your friend circle, or sometime it can be you, who is upgrading their iPhone every year after October, and most probably it is on no-cost EMI. It may look cool to the friend circle, but what actually happens, he gets into the bad habit of purchasing something because he is getting it in no-cost EMI. Just imagine what happens to his savings when multiple of EMIs piles up. Same goes for Vijay Mallya, who had lavish lifestyle, mansion, yachts, and a lot of sports car and was constantly throwing big lavish parties. But guess what? All these things were fueled by massive loans. So what happened when the bubble bursted? He found himself in drowning debts. But here you need to notice one thing. It's not only middle class people, but cricketers, celeb, even high income earners also fall for the bankruptcy trap. But it only happens when people spend beyond their income. Now let me give you an example which most of you doesn't know. Michael Jackson, who had millions of followers and earned in billions, was reported in debt because of excessive spending. So here is what I understand by using my common sense. That when your spending is exceeding your income, you're in the sure path of financial disaster. So like any other disease, let's find the key components or the key symptoms of the bankruptcy trap. And if you find yourself in any of this, don't worry, you just need to make some permanent changes. Number one, paycheck to paycheck life. Do you usually find yourself that your salary barely lasts till the end of the month and you start to wait for the next salary? For example, I have a friend named Rohit who was staying in Pune, a marketing professional. He was famous for giving dinner parties on every salary day. So usually after 20th of every month, he was lacking funds and he used to ask for money from his friend for basic necessities like grocery and etc. If the same thing is happening to you, then my friend, you need to take your finances more seriously. Number two, no emergency fund. It is very common in India, and you also experience that some families had to sell their goals and sometimes even borrow money from the relatives from an emergency hospitalization. Another example is one of my friend namely Priya, who lost her entire savings because of car accident, basically leaving her financially stranded for months. Even if you remember, at the time of demonetization, many small business owners also suffered because they had no backup money. Number 3, dependence on debt. I personally suffered for this problem because what happened when I shifted to a new city for the job change, I bought furniture, appliances, and the gadgets based on EMI. So what happened when the EMI piled up, I barely had any savings for continuous 2 years. This not only caused me financial anxiety, but it kept me into a self-regret situation for a long period of time. Number 4, impulsive spending. Agree on this with me, that we usually buy stuff on sale which we don't need. Number 1 reason of impulsive spending is discounted sales. Honestly tell me how many times you bought something just because it was on sale in Big Billion Day in Flipkart or Diwali sale in Amazon. Another big reason is peer pressure. Just to maintain a lifestyle, one of my cousin brother bought an entire treadmill just because he was getting it into a great deal. Now it sits in his apartment and collecting dust and reminding him as a symbol of impulsive decision. Number 5, no financial planning. If you don't know where your money is going or you don't know how much you're saving, trust me, you're driving blind. Imagine, as an example, Anjali, who lives in Delhi, having a package of 1 lakh per month and doesn't even track her expenses. At the end of every month, she used to notice that her bank account is almost empty, where she can barely recall that she had any big purchase. But if you really remember about our beloved Ratan Tata, who used to lead a very simple life and was only invested in things which really mattered to him. Recognizing the symptoms is the first step to escape the bankruptcy trap. Remember one thing, every small decisions matter, and ignoring the red flags can put you into huge financial stress. Let's commit to take charge of our finances today. Now here is the hard truth. Living in bankruptcy trap is very, very dangerous because it doesn't provide you any safety net. During the pandemic, many people lost their jobs overnight. Those without savings had to rely on loans or had to sell their assets just to survive. Some even could not pay their rent, so unfortunately they had to move back to their hometown. Let me give you an example. I had a friend named Rahul who was also staying with me in Bangalore, who was earning a lot from an IT firm, and he used to dine out a lot. He used to buy so many gadgets and he was in a lot of EMIs. So what happens when one day his company announced the layoff? He had no savings and he had to ask money for his friends to pay out the bills. This is what bankruptcy trap can do to you. Now let me give you a great example of Amitabh Bachchan, who was drowning in debt, as you all know, in the late 90s. But what different he did from Rahul? He actually took charge of his finances, he reinvented himself, and he had an incredible comeback. This is what financial awareness do to you. Remember, we need to understand just this one simple logic. Wealth is not about how much you earn, but it's all about how well you manage what you have. Trust me on this, bankruptcy trap spares no one until unless you take massive action. So now we have identified all the problems, but what are the necessary steps we need to take to break free from it? Here are some steps which I took a couple of years back, and trust me, they changed my life, and I will request you that you please join me with this. Number 1, track your expenses. It may sound insignificant, but trust me on this, every rupee matters. I personally use a normal Google Sheet which is free for all of us, and nowadays we usually pay everywhere by UPI. So what you need to do, you open your UPI app and you open up the transaction history. From there, you copy paste all your expenses into the spreadsheet. Now I will personally suggest you that you please don't do that in monthly basis, because when you calculate all the expenses in monthly basis, it's a huge task, it's time taking, it's stressful, and trust me, it's very overwhelming. And this process completely changed how I handle money. So start small and start early. During this process only, you will recognize that how much money we waste for online food deliveries, subscriptions, etc. For example, in an interview I saw that Virat Kohli in the early time of his career used to track his expenses meticulously. So it gave him the idea that how small expenses can pile up into significant amount. Number 2, creating a budget. Before you even think of tracking your expenses, you need to plan your monthly spendings. Use the well-known 50-30-20 method, where 50% of your salary you spend for basic needs like rent, electricity, fooding, groceries, etc. 30% you spend for recreational activities like entertainment, movies, cultural activities, art, your hobbies, passion, and 20% straight goes into investment or savings. This method was also recommended by financial experts to the Bollywood celebrities so they can balance properly their lavish lifestyle, but at the same time, they can also have money for the future. Number 3, build an emergency fund. Now here is a baby step guide for you. First, you start saving money just for only 1 month. Then you gradually increase up to 3 months, and then you gradually reach at the end for 6 months of savings. And trust me on this fund will save you from any kind of job loss, family emergency or hospitalization. During the pandemic, the families who had emergency fund, they survived properly. But on the other hand, some families literally begged for basic necessities. Number 4, cut down on debt. If you want to build real wealth, trust me on this, you cannot afford to pay interest to the banks. Personally, I hate credit cards. I never use credit card to buy something on EMI, and please don't use credit card for lifestyle purchases. Your first step is to pay back your highest interest loan. Instead of updating your phone every year, I will request you to pay back your outstanding balances. Now I am going to tell you my own rule of thumb. If I want to buy something expensive, I just see one simple thing. The cost of the product should be less than 5% of my total net worth. If the product's price is more than 5% of my total net worth, it simply means I cannot afford it. Number 5, start investing. Money needs to work for you. It doesn't matter like if it's a stock, mutual fund or SIP, your money needs to work for you. I personally started my SIP journey with only 5,000 rupees a month, which is growing exponentially due to the compounding effect over the period of time. I'm not suggesting you that you also have to invest 5k a month, but do it according to your affordability. As you all know, Warren Buffett, that one of the most richest man in the world-renowned investor, started his investing journey at an early age. But you also need to understand Warren Buffett became exponentially wealthy after 60 years of investing. So basically for 60 years, his money has been compounding and it grew exponentially. So what we learn from this? We learn that the patience is the key factor to build real wealth, and we all need to get good in this. Just remember one thing, it's never too late to start something, but the earlier you start, it's better. Now the thing which I have already mentioned is actually purely technical. But the real question is, how will you change your mindset? How will you tackle your urge of spending impulsively? What are the psychological key components you need to activate inside your brain that will turn you into a different person who actually understands wealth deeply? According to me, there are only 3 types. Number 1, delayed gratification. Learn to say no to the things which you don't need right now. Remember the word I said, right now. For instance, every week if you're going to Starbucks or Third Wave Coffee, you're almost spending around 300 rupees for a cup of coffee. But if you skip this simple thing, annually you're going to save 15,000, which can directly go into your investment portfolio. Ratan Tata always said that living modestly was always has been his personal choice. And it is also a practice of self-discipline. So remember this, always train your mind, self-control, when you get the urge to spend money impulsively. Number 2, stop comparing. Trust me on this. I'm over 35 years of old, and please don't fall into the trap of Instagram lifestyle. It is the most stupid thing we can do to ourselves, because always remember that your comparison actually kills your self-love for yourself. I understood one beautiful thing, with time of course, that the true form of wealth is actually financial freedom, not flashy cars, mansion, international trips or branded clothes. Remember one thing, that behind every glamorous post on Instagram, there is often a pile of debt. Influencers usually showcase their lifestyle, but they rarely showcase their debt. The true essence of financial freedom is living your life in your own terms, and no one is absolutely there to control you. You can wake up from sleep whenever you want, you can take a day off whenever you want, and you also can spend time with your loved ones at their favorite place of choices. Usually the excitement of materialistic possessions fade within weeks to months. But if you're buying something based on debt or loan, the stress of paying them back usually controls your life. Number 3, take responsibility. See, at the end of the day, your financial future is in your hand only. Blaming external factor that the government is corrupted, education system is rigged, of course they are. What do you think? What will happen if you gain financial awareness? Do you really think you're going to put your feet into the arena of 9 to 5 rat race? So here is my simple solution. You start small, but you start immediately. As an example, if you save 2000 rupees only per month, it can become a bigger amount over time. And if you invest, even better. See, I'm going to give you my honest conclusion about Bankruptcy Trap. Breaking out of Bankruptcy Trap is not easy, but it's possible. Train your mind psychologically with the components which I mentioned before, and with time, one by one, you start to implement in your life the technical systems. Because following these points truly changed my life, and I know they can change your life too. Most importantly, never doubt yourself and never ever be ashamed to start small, but make sure you start immediately. Because small changes today will lead to massive results tomorrow. I didn't give up on myself, and deep inside my heart, I believe and I know that you can do it too. I have a self-made quote for all of you that if I can do better, the whole world will become a better place. And when the whole world becomes a better place, it can encourage me to do even more better. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and share with someone who needs to hear this. And please don't forget to subscribe for more personal finance brain reconditioning. And guys, let's normalize talking about financial struggles together. And trust me, you're not alone in this journey. Together, we can build real wealth and achieve true freedom. Just don't give up, keep going, and take full charge of your financial future. Arijit here from Bangalore signing out. See you in the next video.